What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a phenomenal night so far. The Canes are back in fall camp, Ross. And man, we can't wait to talk about what's going on in fall camp and recruiting. And we got a very special guest backstage who, is covering the Canes live from fall camp. Ross, why don't you introduce our outstanding guest?
We have got Luke Cheney with us. He's been working with Sports Illustrated, putting out some amazing content for Canes fans. He's been there, like Paul mentioned, he's been there live in person at camp. So this is the guy, man. He's seen it. He's seen it and he's felt it.
What's up, guys? How we all doing tonight?
Doing great, Luke. Thank you so much for coming on the scoop. We greatly appreciate your time tonight, taking time out of your schedule. Luke, how's it been covering the Canes? This fall camp, the season's right around the corner, and I'm sure you can see there's a lot of excitement going on with Mario Cristobal overtaking the head coaching position.
Yeah, no, this is like my first fall camp that I've had the opportunity to cover. It's been so much fun to just be so close to everything that's happening. I mean, you just feel the energy that's just on the field, whether it's Mario or Coach Feld or Coach Steele. I mean, there's just so much energy right now around the program on the field. It's crazy. And one thing that I will say is that I wish that the media was allowed to see some more live setting stuff because they do pull us out quite early, which is the one unfortunate thing when compared to how it was in the spring. But there's still some stuff to notice and take away from at least the first few practices.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ed Orgeron's coming by, coaching up players. There's a lot of exciting things going on. I mean, overall, what do you see so far the team's really focusing in on? Is it, hey, always being up tempo, staying focused? I mean, what are some early things that you're picking on that Coach Cristobal is really implementing this fall?
Yeah, so I guess thinking what you mentioned as far as like implementation, Cristobal's been working a lot with the offensive line, at least from what I've seen. And then, I mean, one thing that I will say is that like I can't really say a whole lot about the trench play just because they are like on the far side of the field. So like the view from my phone camera isn't the best. But one thing that I did notice last practice was that Miami was working on their zone-based blocking schemes, which kind of previews a little bit of what to expect in the run game, which excites me because I absolutely love whether it's the inside zone or the outside zone. I mean, it's just taking over the NFL right now with the teams like the Rams, the 49ers. All the best offenses in the NFL are running a zone-based rushing or have a zone-based rushing attack. And we see a lot of that in the college level as well. And it's good to see that Miami will be implementing this within their offense this year. It was obviously a big part of what Josh Gaddis ran at Michigan last season, and Michigan had one of the best rushing offenses in the entire country. So that is, I guess, implementation-wise, that's one of the things that I've noticed so far. But I'm sure that I guess all the juicy stuff happens when they tell us to go away. But yeah, there's at least as far as what the Russian offense will look like, I think we'll definitely see some of that.
Luke, you've been there live, and that's fantastic. It's unfortunate, like you said, that you haven't been able to get, total full access to the offensive line all the time. But I'm just curious, just from a standpoint early on, I've heard that Logan Saavedra is just a massively strong individual. Has he been able to show that so far?
Yes, just speaking to Ja'Kai Clark and DJ Scaife after practice about a little bit about Logan. I mean, he's just a unnaturally large and strong guy. I mean, like we've all seen those videos of Logan squatting like 1,000 pounds. I mean, he's ridiculous. He's ridiculous, and he's really contending for a starting spot on the offensive line. I mean, what Miami is doing, they cross trained a lot in the spring. And they're doing a lot of that in the fall now, especially with Zion Nelson hurt. So they're really kind of using a lot of guys in a lot of different spots. Scaife mentioned that he has been used both on the left side and the right side throughout fall camp so far. John Campbell has been used primarily on that left side in place of Zion Nelson, but we have seen Logan, receive those first team reps at guard, and he's definitely someone to watch out for the rest of the for the rest of fall campaign into the season.
And I got one more offensive lineman for you just because he's one of my favorite players on the team. He was one of my favorite recruits when we got him. How's Jalen Rivers been looking? Is his strength up? Is he looking like he's going to be competing for a starting role, possibly, just from a physical standpoint?
Oh, for sure. I absolutely think so. I mean, like, he has been one of those guys getting first team reps. I don't have, like I said, I don't have a ton to say about the offensive line as a whole, but he's definitely one of the guys that's in the mix. I mean, a lot of high expectations for him coming out of high school. And I think, this year, I think we'll definitely see a lot of him, and he'll definitely be in the mix. I mean, what I will say about Miami's offensive line this year is that the depth is there. And, it hasn't been there in the past few years. I mean, obviously, Mario's still accumulating that, but I mean, it's there's guys that they can rotate in and out. And, I mean, Jalen definitely won't be one of those guys. He's looked pretty good so far.
Ross was mentioning offensive line. I think that's a big position group, for this offense, especially, past offensive line units have not been up to par. I think they're going to be a lot better this upcoming season, building the second team depth as well. But I really think wide receiver play for me, I'm going to circle around this position unit. And Kobe Young, he's a big bodied wide receiver that, transferred in from a junior college, I believe. And we don't have really, I mean, besides Frank Latson, as an outside threat, deep ball target, or just, you're in the red zone, jump ball situations, we really don't have that target. I think Kobe Young, if he does develop, excels, he can be implemented in the offense. What have you seen from the wide receiver group? And if you can start with Kobe Young, just seeing him on the field and how he's running routes, catching the football, the chemistry with Tyler Van Dyke, maybe you can just touch up on that first.
Yeah, so I mean, with Kobe Young, we really haven't seen him much as far as like the 2 or 3 deep, as far as within like the 2 and 3 deep wide receivers, and that is just because like he arrived at Miami so late. So it's going to take time for him to get up to date with everything. So I'm very patient on Colby Young, and I'm sure we'll see more from him later in the fall camp. But I mean, so far, I mean, his height is the first thing that pops out of you. He's without a doubt the tallest receiver in that room, and he will be a red zone and a downfield threat off the bat. Something that we'll be watching out for the rest of this week and heading into the next couple of weeks is kind of how he works that middle of the field. Something I really haven't seen much yet from him, or at least I haven't noticed much. He did have a very nice catch. I think it was on what day is it today? I think it was on Monday, where he came back. Yeah, it was an underthrown pass. He came back for the ball. It was a fantastic catch. So he does have good ball skills. But one name that I want, and I don't mean like to turn off on Colby Young, but like one like bigger body receiver that has really caught my eye is Isaiah Horton, the freshman. I mean, he's looked good, dude. He has looked, which there were certain receivers like Romello Brinson, Jacoby George, who I went into fall camp really watching out for. It's guys who I was really excited to see, how they come along. Isaiah Horton wasn't one of those guys, I'm not gonna lie. And just watching him on that first practice, I was thinking to myself, like, damn, like this is a guy who's 6'3", he has a good frame as a freshman already, and he moves very, very, very well. There's an effortlessness in which that he plays in that is really encouraging. I haven't seen him drop a pass yet. He has good hands. I don't expect him to, play a whole lot this season just because Miami does have a lot of depth. They do have a lot of bodies at receiver. But, I mean, the early signs have been encouraging, and I think he will be someone that could at least contend for playing time maybe towards the end of the season, especially heading into, 2023 and 2024. I've really liked what I've seen from him.
Yeah, you mentioned, playing time. Coach Gaddis did state, he's just not going to give players playing time. They have to earn it. He's going to play the best players on the field to win football games. And, you know, after Bethune-Cookman, you got Southern Miss, who I think is a solid opponent, and then you got Texas A&M on the road. It's a big SEC football program. We go head to head in recruiting. I want to talk about Tyler Van Dyke. Obviously, he had a phenomenal past season. Surprisingly, no one really I personally thought it was going to be Derek King's final year of college football. He's going to play amazing. And then he gets injured, and Tyler Van Dyke's our quarterback, does a great job, and now he's, some say a long dark horse for the Heisman. Could potentially get drafted very early in the NFL draft. How's Tyler Van Dyke looking? I know we saw in the spring game, but is he picking up where he left off so far, making connections with different wide receivers that are coming in, for like Frank Latz and Colby Young, for example?
Yeah, he has looked as good as advertised. There's just really nothing bad to say. He just continues to show his elite ball placement, his elite level accuracy. His deep throw accuracy has just been like out of this world the past couple days. It's Tyler Van Dyke. Miami's success this season is all on how he plays, and there hasn't been anything to really stray me away from being very high on Van Dyke. I guess like this has nothing to do with football, but I guess like the one takeaway that I can take from TVD that I didn't realize before was that for some apparel watchers out there, he has been rocking the double long sleeves. We'll see if that continues into the season, but yeah, no, it's he's left off from where he was at the second half of the season. He's looked fantastic.
Hey, Luke, I wanted to get back to wide receiver here real quick because I feel that there's a player that not just his performance alone can be a huge thing for us. It's what he can do for the entire passing game, all, stretching the field, open things up, and that's Keyshawn Smith. Okay. What have you noticed from Keyshawn Smith so far in this fall camp?
Yeah, so and I'll kind of tie that into like the competition at the X spot at receiver. Yeah, he's looked good. He had a really good practice on Tuesday. He was someone throughout spring that I thought played okay. I wasn't wowed by him. He didn't play bad by any means, but I there were a couple guys that I was wowed by. Keyshawn wasn't one of those guys, so I was kind of really seeing how he would play in the fall, and he's played well so far. But I will say that I can only speak for Monday and Tuesday because I was not there at the first 2 days of fall camp. But on Monday and Tuesday, Frank Latson has been starting our first team reps at opposite Jacoby George as the two outside receivers. So that's something to monitor. We saw Latson really come on strong at the end of spring, start to take some of those first team reps away from Keyshawn. So we'll monitor that situation the rest of fall camp. I think Keyshawn has a higher floor than Frank Latson, but I think Latson probably has the higher ceiling, just given his physical capabilities. But the thing with Latson is that his hands are a little inconsistent, so we'll see how that goes. But the one thing I will say when it comes to like all depth chart stuff is that take what I'm saying with a little bit with a little grain of salt, because who knows what happens when we're told to leave the field. They could just mix things up. So at least, but from what I've seen, Frank Latson has been taking the majority of first team reps so far throughout fall camp. But that's not to say that Keyshawn hasn't played very well, because he has.
I want to also move on over to another pass catching option for us, and which is our tight ends, and kind of hoping to see a little bit of youth develop behind Mallory this year. What's the word on Arroyo so far?
Yeah, so I really think that Arroyo is Miami's best all around tight end. We know what Will's going into his fifth season. We know what he does well. We know what he doesn't do well. We know that he excels as as a tight end in the slot, not really an inline tight end, but someone who can really be a threat in the receiving game. We know that he struggles as a blocker, whereas Elijah Arroyo, a lot more physical as a blocker, someone that I think can be used a little more adequately, both as an inline tight end, as an H back. His versatility is very key in Josh Gaddis's offense. And I think we'll definitely see more Arroyo this season than what we saw last year. He's looked very good so far. He's put on some weight, he's put on some strength. So I think that like I said, we'll see more Arroyo than we saw last year. I want to touch really quickly on Jaleel Skinner, who really started to come on strong at the end of spring, and he's looked fantastic so far. I mean, he's like a big wide receiver, really. He kind of fits that like Jimmy Graham, Kyle Pitts type tight end, where I mean he's not your prototypical tight end. He's an offensive weapon who happens to play tight end. And I really hope we see a lot of Jaleel Skinner this year, because I mean his ceiling is just incredibly high. And he's looked great so far. You can move. I mean, you can have him on the outside. You can have him in the slot. He can pick up yards after the catch. I mean, he's just such a threat in the receiving game. So there's a lot of bodies in that tight end room, and there's just a remarkable amount of talent.
To finish off the offense, Luke, it was a good question by Les. Running back rotation, we're hearing Chaney might take first team snaps, might be the starting running back going in. Parrish came with Coach Smith from Ole Miss. He's a very good running back as well. Jalen Knighton, we saw him have flashes of success this past season. I think he could play at the Power 5 level. I think he's a good running back. Trevonte Citizen, he's a true freshman. A lot of people didn't even expect him to choose Miami. He's in our room. We have Thad Franklin. There's a lot of good depth there.
Yeah.
Who do you think early on? Just estimate, who's going to be taking first team? Who's going to be a part of the first team offense when we face Bethune-Cookman or get the majority of snaps? You think?
I mean, that's such a tough one, because like the depth in that room is insane. I mean, it's you have 5 guys who you can make an argument will touch the ball at least 10 times a game. You can make that argument for all 5 guys, and it's a good argument for all 5 of them. Each guy brings something to that running back room that the other one doesn't, which makes it, I guess, such a diverse group of guys. I mean, as far as for first team reps, we saw Thad take some. I don't know if I'll call him first team reps. He was the first one up in drills. So take that for however you will. But I will say one thing though about Trevonte Citizen. We have heard a lot about his frame and his build, and how he's not built like a freshman, right? So I mean, I took some of that with a grain of salt. I remember heading into to fall camp thinking like, okay, guys, let's hold off a little bit. That's a lot to say about someone who's a true freshman. I get there and I look at number 6. I'm just thinking to myself like, oh my God. Like when people say he's built like an NFL back, he actually is built like an NFL back. His frame for a true freshman is insane. But I mean, I think there's definitely a path for him to receiving playing time. He's definitely going to be a force going downhill. I have also heard that, or I've seen that he is someone who's physical when it comes to pass protection, which, definitely plays a role when dividing playing time. But I'm so curious to see how Josh Gaddis is going to find a way to, I guess, keep all these guys happy, because there are so many guys in that room who could receive some playing time.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to have, absolutely having more than what you need. And, unfortunately, in the game of football, injuries do happen. You never know when it could happen as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. We're like a Swiss Army knife in the running back room. We got a lot of options that can do a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. Let's switch over to the defense, Luke. There was a tweet that said that Miami low key may have the best defensive line unit in the nation. I think it's a very good defensive line unit, specifically interior. I still have a question mark about edge, who's going to be taking majority of snaps. I know Jabari Harvey was a spokesperson at the ACC media day. He's an upperclassman. I think he'll be one of our starting edge rushers or getting a lot of playing time. But who else after him is a question mark for me. How's the D line looking early on? Because we really added a lot of depth this offseason from the transfer portal.
Yeah, so I think Miami's defensive line will come along. What it is missing is that proven top end talent, but for what it doesn't have in top end talent, it makes up for in depth. I mean that I when the official depth chart comes out, and especially in the D line, don't pay much attention to it because I mean they'll be constantly rotating guys. I mean just Lichtenstein, Leonard Taylor, Key Mesidor, Jordan Miller, Moultrie. There are so many guys that they could utilize. Speaking a little bit about the edge, we've seen Jafari Harvey take some of the first team reps. The other guy that we've seen take some of those first team reps, which I'm happy about, is Chance Williams, someone who I think was underutilized a little bit last season. I thought, when he played, I thought that he was Miami's most explosive edge rusher. And I think that he's one of my breakout candidates this season at the defensive end spot or at the edge spot. Really looking to see if Jabari Harvey can kind of put everything together because that's something that he hasn't been able to do so far throughout his college career. So I'm really seeing if, within this defense, like I said, he can kind of put everything together and have that dominant season that a lot of people have really been expecting from him. But I guess, and going back to that tweet about Miami having like the best defensive line in the country, just because that top end talent that they don't have, I'm not exactly sure about that. But I think that for what they do have, the depth, especially like I said with Mesidor, Moultrie, some of the guys that they brought in, I think it should be a very solid group, no doubt.
Talking about edge here and defensive line, what's the word been so far on Mitchell Agude? How's he been looking?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've not seen much from him, just like I haven't seen much from the defensive line as a whole. But again, he's one of those guys in the rotation, fighting for playing time. He's going to be one of those 2-3 deep guys. Another player that I forgot to mention was Darrell Jackson. He's another guy they have to factor into all of that. I mean, I think I mentioned like 7 different players that could legit be two deep guys in the rotation, which is crazy. I mean, we've all heard about or we've all seen like these pictures of Darrell Jackson and like how freakishly big he is, and he really is that big. He physically is such a gifted player, and he's such an important player to have on that line. Someone that I'm really looking to take that next step is Leonard Taylor. We saw him a little bit and like I said, don't pay much attention to it because they rotate a lot, but we did see him a little bit with the third team. Like I said, though, don't place that much importance to it. But that just speaks to the overall depth of the defensive line. It's insane.
Actually, Leonard Taylor was the guy I was going to bring up next. Just from last year, I saw a couple times where, just from a physical standpoint, college offensive linemen were able to just push him backwards, able to push him out of the way. And it's not that we know he's got power, but does he look like he's got that college strength now? Is his physical form really coming around?
Yeah, I think that's something definitely that's starting to catch up. And just that he's had a full off season under one of the best strength and conditioning programs in the entire country. So, I mean, that was his calling card coming out of high school. I mean, he was just such a powerful D lineman at Palmetto, and people thought that it would take a little bit of time for him to adjust to the college level, just because he needs to add some of that finesse into his game, work on some of his moves, not just rely purely on power. And we saw, towards especially in the beginning of last season, that he struggled a little bit just because he's so used to relying on that power. And when you're using just that, like I said, that brute strength and that power against college level offensive linemen and Power 5 level offensive linemen, it's not always going to work. But he really started to adjust a little bit towards the end of the season, and he started playing very well. And he's continued to work on some of that finesse into his game, and continue to work on using some of his power, because I mean he's such a physically gifted player.
There's a comment from Raul. What is the Achilles heel of this year's team? And I don't have that answer, but I think there's one position group I'm curious how they're going to perform this upcoming season, because I felt like they were the best part of our football team this past year, and that's the linebacker core. I'll tell you what, I don't think anyone can predict right now who's going to be our starting linebackers in this offense, in this defense. I've seen a bunch of names. I think someone mentioned Keontre Smith, Chase Smith would be a good combo. I honestly have no idea what to expect. Luke, what have you at least seen from linebackers during your time? Maybe you've gotten a peek at maybe who's getting majority first team snaps.
Yeah. So when you're thinking of the Achilles heel of this team, probably going to be the linebackers. That's not a reflection on the coaching at all. I mean, Charlie Strong is a fantastic coach, and if/when Miami's linebackers do kind of struggle, I really hope that the fan base doesn't turn on Strong, because the reason why they'd be struggling is because the position was not recruited at the Power 5 level for 6 years. That is where the struggles will come from, not Strong's coaching. But just speaking on fall camp so far, the development of Wesley Basaint has been very encouraging. He was very, very good in spring, and he's even received some first team reps so far through fall. He's going to play a lot. As a true freshman, he's going to play a lot. Will he start? I don't know, but he is probably the most athletically gifted linebacker in that room, along with Chase Smith. But he's someone that, like I said, will play a lot. Caleb Johnson's another guy who has received those first team reps, transferred from UCLA. He does add some proven production into that room, and I think that he was probably the most important transfer portal addition throughout the offseason. I mean, he's a very good player. And then, we'll see what happens with Keontre Smith. He put on a lot of weight in the throughout the summer. I think I'm trying to think with all those graphics that came out. I think he put on like 25 to 30 pounds, which is great. He's a very, recruited as a safety, former safety turned linebacker. So it's good that he added some weight to really, I guess, fully welcome that transition to as a linebacker. And then, you have some athleticism there with Chase Smith, Thomas Davis. So, I mean, there are guys in that room, but as the comment mentioned, I'm still not super high on the unit heading into this season, but there's talent there, but it's going to take 2, 3, multiple recruiting cycles to really just, I guess, fix what has been a major weakness ever since Shaq and Michael and all of them left.
Yep, definitely. I'm going to be circling that position unit, throughout this season. We'll see how well they play against Texas A&M Week 3. It'll be interesting. But let's talk about a group that I think is one of our strengths. Our safeties. You made a comment about Avante Williams on Twitter the other day. I mean, he just looks the part. I mean, he looks like an NFL player ready to go. How are they looking, Luke? I mean, we got a very, very good, trio. James Williams, Cam Kitchens, Vontae Williams. I mean, those guys are going to be very good football players.
Oh, yeah. First, I just want to shout out a comment that I see from Chris. He mentioned Jared Harrison Hunt, who I forgot to name. He's another guy. There we go. Another guy in that defensive line rotation. Just speaks to the depth of that unit. Anyways, with the safeties, that is, I would say that safeties and tight ends, but more so safeties, like those are the elite units on this team. Like I said, I mentioned Avante Williams in a tweet. I believe it was yesterday, and we haven't seen the safeties yet and the defensive backs in a live setting, which hopefully we'll have that access towards or for the rest of fall camp. But you can just tell through individual drills, through agility drills. There's just a certain way that Williams or Avante Williams moves. It's just so effortless. He just moves with such ease. It's so quick. It's so agile. He's just such a natural football player. He's such a natural safety. I mean, he didn't play all of last year, and yeah, when he did pick it up, I mean, he just showed flashes of brilliance. You guys remember that one interception against Georgia Tech? That was just remarkable. I'm a little higher on Avante Williams than I am on James Williams, and that's not a reflection at all on James. I just think that with the instincts that Avante has, and with just like I mentioned, like just his effortless movement, I think that Avante could really be a first round talent. I truly believe that. I think when we recap this season in January or February, wherever, I think that we'll look at the season and really key on Avante as the best defender from this season. I truly believe that.
Luke, I'm kind of curious here, man. A name that I don't think we've even mentioned yet, and I'm kind of curious what you think his overall role will be, and that's Gilbert Frierson. What kind of role is he going to play in this defense, do you believe, for us?
Yeah, so he's going to. I mean, there's a few guys on this defense that I think are going to play all over the place. The two main guys that come to mind are Al Blades and Gilbert Frierson. Gil's been mostly with the defensive backs through the first 3 to 4 days of camp. And I mean, he was someone that I think through that 2020 season was, aside from Jalen Phillips, was Miami's best defender. I wish that he started off the season as striker instead of Mari Carter for that 2021 season, but I'm really curious to see how he fits into this defense. He's going to play a lot in that star role that Kevin Steele is bringing to Miami. It's similar to what the striker role was, but he brings experience to that defensive back room. He brings toughness, and he's going to be a key defender this season.
Back in the the safety unit here, of course, with guys like James Williams. I mean, what can we expect from a guy like him? He's so young, he's so talented, but I mean, do you think it can really all come around sooner than later, or is he still another year away from being the true impact player we hope he can be?
Oh, I think it'll come this year. I really think it'll come this year. We saw in the spring, at least, James Williams was used in a lot of single high packages, just roaming as like a center fielder with his 6'5" height and just like massive frame. He is just such a physically gifted player. You can move him just all around the field. You can play him close to the box. You can use him as Miami used him in the spring a little bit, like I said, as a single high safety. He's another one of those guys like Avante Williams who just moves so well. And yeah, he's gonna play a lot. I mean, the one thing that with him last year that I guess we'd like to see him correct a little bit, or Miami would like to see him correct a little bit, was just his. He had that little episode and against UNC. Just really kind of. I mean, he has so much emotion as a player, and you just kind of like to see him kind of just hold it all in. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's gonna be a guy this year. He's him and Avante Williams and Cam Kitchens. I mean, the safety room is just, like I said, it's insane.
Well, in regards to fall camp, there's one more position unit, cornerbacks. this is a group as well that I think they're better from last year. We added Daryl Porter Jr. I think we have a good defensive backs coach there in general, overseeing the unit. What have you seen so far? Tyreek Stevenson to me is going to be the leader of the group, and to Corey Couch as well. I know a lot of people love DJ Ivy in the fan base. Just overall your thoughts before we go into recruiting.
Yeah, so I think we're all kind of critically in Tyree Stevenson as that cornerback one. He earned it. He had a great season last year. But opposite from him, there are a lot of guys who you can make an argument for. One of those guys, or a couple of those guys that you mentioned, Daryl Porter, second team All Big 12. He's going to be guys in the mix. DJ Ivy, who is controversial amongst the fan base. He had a good spring. It's a new system. Just give him a chance. But he's played very well so far through fall camp. Another guy is Corey Couch. He continued to put on muscle throughout the summer. He's looked pretty solid. He's up to 175 now, I believe. I see the comment. I'm so glad Chris mentioned Isaiah Dunston. That's what I was going to move on to next. He was the biggest surprise for me on that defense throughout the entirety of spring. He was very, very, very good, and he's someone that we didn't really see enough from, or playing time wise. I wish we saw more from Isaiah Dunston at least earlier. But yeah, he's someone that he possesses great ball skills. He's a very smart corner. He just did a fantastic job through spring, and he's someone that's continued to take some first team reps. So I just feel like his name kind of gets thrown to the background a little bit when talking about the cornerback room. I feel like names like Daryl Porter, to Corey Couch, those are the names that are always talked about. Whereas, you have Isaiah Dunston, who I really think is right in the thick of things along with some of those guys.
Well, look, we're really excited, about this upcoming Canes football. It'll be 2022 football season. Mario, first game against Bethune-Cookman, fall camp. We're literally almost there. So we're excited, and we appreciate you breaking that down, Luke. But a lot of fans love recruiting as well, so we want to touch up on it. I guess. Ross, where do you want to start with recruiting? Because I know this is your pet peeve, and I'm sure you got tons of questions for Luke.
I figured we start at running back for the simple fact that Cedric Baxter, while we were here live, just picked Texas to play for. So that kind of throws an elite running back out of the mix. So I'm kind of curious, Luke, do you think that the staff is comfortable just settling in on Christopher Johnson, who is now a 4-star?
Yeah, I think now that Baxter is off the board, I think the goal in on Chris Johnson, which I think is a good decision because I think Chris Johnson is awesome. Like, he is such a natural fit for Josh Gaddis's offense, just given his mix of his speed, what he can do out of the backfield as a receiver. I think On3 still has him listed as a receiver, so that kind of speaks to what he can do as a pass catcher. But yeah, I think he's someone who, as you mentioned, he's now listed as a 4-star. He should have been listed as a 4-star. I think he is a high 4-star talent. And if he were to come to Miami, he'd be a 5-star fit. I really like him. I expect Miami to only take, I guess, one running back this class. I don't see him doubling up, especially with, like I said, so much depth in the room already. It's kind of moot to take two. But one thing with Chris Johnson that did upset some of the fan base, some of the comments that he made about how he wants to see Miami, how Miami plays on the field before making his decision, which in my opinion, I think it's absolutely reasonable for him to have that mindset. So his decision will be based off, or will somewhat be based off of how Miami plays, especially early in the season. He is also considering Ole Miss. If I were to pick a school that he would come that he will go to, I'd probably lean Miami. But yeah, if I expect and I think they should go all in on Chris Johnson. He's a fantastic player.
I'm completely there with you, dude. I've been a big fan of Christopher Johnson for a couple months now. It's I was surprised at when I saw him as a 3-star and initially, and I saw his tape and I saw that speed. I was like, dude, there's no way they can hold him back as a 4-star. I mean, they can't. You can't hold him back from that. Now, dude, there's a position group that I'm kind of curious about, and I'm kind of wondering kind of what's going on because I personally don't know, and that's wide receiver.
Yeah.
Names like Hakeem Williams. He still talks about Miami when they ask him questions. Of course, we got a lot of fans that don't think that he's really that high on Miami, so it's kind of a toss up there, I think, with him. But then you've also got guys like Andy Jean that the staff said that they would continue to go after, even though he committed to Florida. And then you got a guy like William Foles, who just committed to Louisville. And I imagine that if we needed to, we would probably try to get in the mix on that as again. Where do you see us going at wide receiver, honestly?
Yeah, so we all saw yesterday William Foles commit to Louisville. Judging by a couple of his tweets, I don't think that would have been his first option. If I were to take a guess, I would say that on Miami's end, he is not necessarily a take at the moment, just because I think they only take another wide receiver or two at the most this class, just in preparation for what the 2024 cycle has at the wide receiver position. I mean, you have three guys in the top 10 that Miami are all expected to be after in that 2024 cycle. So they're kind of really setting up for that. But so far, or at least to finish off this 2023 cycle, you mentioned Hakeem Williams. He commits on the 23rd. A lot of people see him leaning towards Texas A&M, but Miami is still in the mix there. But if I were to make a prediction, I would not have him going to Miami. Just listening to some of the interviews that he's taken, he doesn't sound as high on Miami as he does, like I said, meant to say Texas A&M. But who knows really how much to take from those interviews. But he's a fantastic talent, and if he does end up going to Miami, he would just bring so much to that room. You also mentioned Andy Jean, who just committed to Florida. I don't see Jean shutting down his recruitment anytime soon, just given that he's even said that if Miami wants him on campus for an OV in the fall, he's going. So Miami's definitely not out of it there. The staff thinks really highly of Gene, and I mean, so do I. I think Gene's a fantastic player. He out of all the receivers in this out of all the receivers in the South Florida area in this 2023 class, aside from Ennis, probably I would say Gene is the best route runner. I think at the college level, he's going to be just a fantastic possession type receiver. And one guy that we've heard some buzz about is Jurion Dickey, the Oregon commit, just an absolutely fantastic player. There's been that buzz regarding Miami. There's been that smoke. We'll see what comes out of that in the season. See if Dickey takes an OV to Miami. So that's just a situation to monitor. But I expect that if Miami strikes out on Gene and if they're unable to flip Gene, they strike out on Williams, and if they're unable to flip Dickey, then I definitely could see them recircling things on William Foles, who is a fantastic receiver in his own right.
So Luke, who right now on the recruiting board do you think is a must get for this recruiting class? If you can pick one guy, two guys that Miami needs to land, program changing, impact football players, who would it be?
I would say the first guy on the list has to be Samson Okunola. He arguably, you can place him 1, 2, or 3, one of the best offensive tackles in this class. And he would just be it's to in addition to Francis, I mean that would just form probably the best offensive tackle, the best group of offensive tackles that Miami's ever brought in. Those are two high end, top ranked guys. I mean, Sampson is just absolutely incredible. He he's someone that the staff obviously thinks very very highly about. Samson's head coach, Jeff Toussaint, is very very high on Alex Mirabal. When I had the chance to speak to him, it definitely sounded like out of the college coaches that were recruiting or that have been recruiting Samson, that he thinks the most highly of Mirabal. So that's something to just keep in mind. But there's also Michigan State there in the mix. They've been making a strong push as of late. But if Miami's able to add just a game-changing talent like Samson, that would just be phenomenal. Another guy that just pops up in my mind on the D line, Ruben Bain. His older brother is on staff. The Miami Central Miami connection is there. And he's someone that had a video game like junior season. I think he had like 29 sacks, right? Wasn't up there?
Yeah, it was 26 or 29.
Yeah, ridiculous. Bain is someone that is, being recruited by a lot of top programs like in Alabama. I expect to come down between Miami and Alabama. We'll see where that goes, but especially just because Miami hasn't Miami really hasn't added much on the defensive line yet in their cycle. I think Bain is a must get as well.
Speaking about, Okun Lola and those guys, we're also going after another offensive tackle, Monroe Freeling. Interesting, 6'7", 280 some pounds or something like that. Moves very well. My question to you is, if we were to land Samson and Monroe, do you believe that we still keep Frankie Tinolau on the roster, or do we, as a project player, or do you think something might happen and he could get bumped?
I don't know where the staff is as far as that, but I mean, just given that Frankie is going to play next season at LaSalle, I think Miami brings him on regardless as a project player, but I could definitely see him start to explore other options if Miami brings in two more high-end tackles to add to a class that already has Francis. That would definitely make things interesting for him. So, we'll see where Miami goes with that. But I'm not sure if he's necessarily a bump, just because he does have a lot of promising physical attributes, and the staff will have, more time to evaluate him, just because he is making that move to the Miami area from Australia.
We just got Connor Liu, which was a fantastic interior offensive line pickup, I felt. Where else do you think we would be looking for talent there? Do you think Jonathan Klein is a player possibly that we could be still continuing to look for? Or is there anybody else that we should be talking about too?
Definitely. No, I mean, just to speak on Jonathan Klein, he just picked up an offer, I think July 31st, late July, from Vanderbilt. So that's another school for him to consider. He's also looking at UCF, Memphis, a few other schools. But, Klein loves Miami. One thing on his official visit, he's from the Georgia area. He loves to fish. This just speaks to, the coaching staff that's at Miami now. On Klein's official visit, they actually took the recruiters and the coaching staff took Klein out to play a private pond, or just somewhere that was like home for Klein. That's something that he really appreciated. So, he's a fantastic guard, fantastic interior offensive lineman. We'll see what happens with him. He, is expected to commit early to, mid season. So we'll see where his recruitment goes. But I think he's definitely someone that Miami will end up considering. or that he will end up considering going to Miami rather.
Luke, the way this class is ending up, I honestly think we can finish in the top 5. What are your expectations for this recruiting class, the way it's going right now?
As for like a class ranking when it's all said and done,
Correct.
I think a lot of that also rides on some of the unknowns in this class when it comes to what ends up happening at defensive back. Jamal
Yeah.
Adai is still in somewhat of an evaluation stage, and that's cool. With some of the DBs in this class, they're expected to miss out on Jaden Bonsu. He's very much an Ohio State lean at this point. Looking at some of the other guys that, at least at this moment, that Miami could try to bring in. Just look no further than American Heritage. The staff has been talking a lot with Damari Brown, very talented, very long cornerback, like I said, from Heritage. It's one name to monitor. Another name that safety from Heritage that's committed to North Carolina State, Damon Fagan. The staff has been in contact with him too, so we'll see what happens with that. But I think a lot of this class does ride on what happens at defensive back, what happens at defensive line, because there are a lot of guys that Miami, a lot of high end guys that Miami is in contention for. But if I were to make a prediction, I would say safely top 8. I think that's my safe prediction as far as class ranking. We'll say top 8.
Ross, I'm going to throw it back to you. The floor is yours.
Well, I gotta say, Luke, there is one position group that I'm very, very excited about in the 2023 class, and I love to say it because it's the linebacker core. Dude, I am super high. Malik Bryant, Raul Aguirre, Bobby Washington. I can't believe Bobby Washington's still not getting the respect he deserves. What's your feeling? Do you feel the same way that I do about this linebacker class? I'm absolutely stoked that they're coming in.
Oh yeah, this is the best group of linebackers that Miami's brought in since 2015. Did Shaq and Zach they all came in 2015, I believe, right?
I think so, somewhere around then.
Yeah. So I mentioned way earlier about how the linebacker unit this season at Miami may struggle just because the position was so under recruited for so long. That's changed. That has without a doubt changed because Miami just got a commitment from Malik Bryant, top 50 player, one of the best linebackers in the country. Raul Aguirre, he is another really, really good linebacker. And then you mentioned Bobby Washington, who doesn't really get the respect that he necessarily deserves, but he is just a tremendous fit with what Kevin Steele likes to run. And what Kevin Steele is really looking for when he's evaluating linebackers. Steele is someone that likes those prototypical 6'2", 6'3", hard hitters. And Bobby Washington as a 6'3" linebacker is exactly that guy. So I really think this group of linebackers that Miami is expected to bring in this class could definitely be something special.
Well, man, I just got one more player that I want to bring up here with you and just kind of to get your feelings on, if you think we actually have a shot, and that's Nicholas Harbor, the 5-star athlete. An absolute freak of nature. Freak of nature. What is he, 6'5", runs like a 10.28 in the 100 meters, something like that. Just freakish. Do you think Miami has any type of chance to land him?
I think so. I really think so. He spoke to I don't mean to self plug it all, but he spoke to All Hurricanes last month. And he's definitely considering Miami, which if you would have asked me that a couple months ago, I would have said no way. But Miami's legitimately in the running for one of the most athletically gifted players of this class. If all of you guys haven't seen Harbor run track, please do, because what he does at that size is just truly phenomenal. He's a guy that can also play receiver. Like that, like that's how athletically and physically gifted he is. And if Miami could just bring in just a freak like that in this class, that would just cap off what has already been just a tremendous cycle for them.
Well, Paul, that's it for me.
Luke, we greatly appreciate the time you spent with us tonight. I mean, we threw a lot at you. You did an excellent job. We went from fall camp to recruiting, and we really do appreciate your time on tonight's show. And hopefully, you enjoyed your time. You can come back on in the near future.
No, anytime, man. I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And guys, on your way out, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and Luke, where can the good people find you?
Yeah, so I mean, my Twitter handle is in the box there. Or shoot me a follow for Miami Hurricanes coverage if you want that. You can also find me on All Hurricanes, the Fan Nation website for Sports Illustrated. A lot of coverage happening there, both on the football season, on fall camp, on recruiting, on basketball. So we got everything covered there. Go check us out. But yeah, just again, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Once again, guys, thank you for everyone joining us. Go subscribe to Luke's Sports Illustrated segment on Miami Hurricanes football. Follow him on Twitter and follow him for his content. Always all about the U, guys. Go Canes.